So essentially, there was this guy. He really, really wanted to talk to his crush, but the crush doesn't know. Right? The crush doesn't know because he's really young as well. He's like 20 years old. I don't know if it's 20 or 21, but he's really, really young. And like the crush was like, yo, who is your crush? Like his crush asked him, who is your crush? And then he was like, oh shit. What do I say, you know? And then because he's too much of a bitch, he didn't say it's her. I don't even know what he said, but he definitely did not say it was her, right? So it just so happens that I just finished gym and I was about to eat dinner. It was around 6 or 7 p.m. And I was in the chat and I'm like, bro, quit being a little bitch, right? Quit being a little pussy. You just gotta tell her. You literally just gotta say it. Because the grand scheme of things for women, right? For girls, for girls. Okay, at least from a male perspective, as long as you get it over and done with, you can come into a much more efficient use of both of your times. Because it's either she likes you or she don't like you. And if she don't like you, you move on immediately, bro. Right? You're not even, I don't know if he's 20 or 21, but he's definitely not working, right? He has no job. So all these like early age romance, all that kind of stuff, like especially if you're like younger, right? Like if you're like 18, 19, 20, 21, 20. I would say the odds of you sticking to that girl, like getting together for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years or whatever, and getting married, bro, the odds of that happening is like lesser than getting a triple SSR in HSR. It's damn near fucking impossible to find that person that you have dated since like basically at college all the way through marriage. Because your goals, your outlook on life, your priorities, your maybe even career, everything will change when you approach a real life working jobber industry. Right? Like when that happens, a lot of things will change. And this is coming from the perspective of somebody that's been in 2 long-term relationships, right? I have one when I was 2 years long. Second one was 4 years long, right? So I know exactly what is going on. First one, I had it when I was 17. No, sorry, 18. And then the next one is right after I break up, I think less than half a year later. So it was from like 20-ish all the way through 24, 25, right? So 4 years, right? So you are not really doing yourself a disservice. I mean, you are doing yourself a disservice if you are not letting the female,
In complete
right, the girl.
honesty, for me personally, getting a GF to begin with is like hitting 10 SSRS in a 10 pull.
Stop interrupting your streamer. Okay, but thank you so much for the biddies. Yeah, my point is, you are literally doing yourself a disservice if you don't make your intentions known all the way from the start. And at least that's the way that I'm viewing like dating and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, okay, right now I keep saying I face out, right? Okay, actually, chat, I have 10 face outs. Yep. I have 20 face outs. I have face outs every other day. All right, it's a face out. And I want to make my like intention like super goddamn clear. It's like, okay, this is like we're gonna go on a date, right? We're gonna eat. I pay for everything, obviously. I feel like as a guy, okay, whether or not you should pay on the first date, it depends, right? I feel like as a jobber, if you have a employment, the man should pay. The man should pay on the first date. But that's just me, right? I'm like very 传统, right? My mom is like, 哇，那个男人一定要第一次吃饭. So I have to pay for the first date. I don't want to. But everything else that comes after is like, you already know, you established your intentions all the way from the start, right? So maybe you gotta know from your dating apps. Maybe you gotta know from like your friends. You gotta know from the club. Know from whatever it's gonna be. But it must be a super good. You cannot let her think, yeah, I want to be your friend. Nah, fuck that, bro. Right? If she thinks that your intention to her at the start was to be a friend, she will see you as such. And if you want to make the switch, right? If you want to make a swap back, right? If you want to change from like Changli to Jingxi quick, it will be a lot more difficult. And frankly speaking, just a waste of both people's time. If you just let her know, okay, you know what? Yep, I want to date you. And then if you don't want, it is what it is. But if you do, then let's just get on with it, right? So that is like my outlook on like dating in general. And then, bro, I think we were also okay. Wait, hold up, bro. I was like saying, right? Okay, this may or may not get like a little bit of a controversy, bro. I swear, girls are like DPS. Girls pulling for girls are like legit pulling for DPS. You never know when I'm gonna get POWERCREPT. because you never know when is the right one, all right? When is the one that you can settle for the rest of your life? And DPS come and go, right? Whereas if you pull for yourself, if you work on yourself as a man, right, as an individual, right, you are then pulling for supports. You're spending time building your career, building your knowledge, building your body, building your job, right? Literally, like having a bank account, all that kind of stuff. Because don't listen to what girls say. Money matters. I don't give a fuck anyone says. Money matters, especially in the long run. So if you're pulling for supports and you work on yourself, eventually, if you yourself as an individual get strong enough, right? Like, would a DPS work better with Teep, or would a DPS work better with Asta? And at that point, even if you want to pair up the best possible DPS, right? Like, even if you give casters, right, the latest DPS casters, like, there's not much you can do if you're just gonna let casters go out with Asta. That's you, if you don't work on yourself, right? So before that DPS comes around, you need to work on your supports as a gacha player, so that eventually, no matter what DPS comes, you can make it work. Right? Look at Teep. Right, Teep can work with Caceres, Teep can work with Mighty, Teep can work with Herda, Teep can work with pretty much anyone about the Teep, because Teep is Teep, right? You want to be a Teep, right? As a man, you want to be a Teep because, like I mentioned, I feel like girls are all just DPS. You can't really tell exactly what is the thing that's gonna be like the meta DPS. Like this girl A today you meet, it might be a tier 0 DPS. But 5 months later, oh my god, she fell off the tier 3. Then what are you gonna do, right? You can, at least from the way I feel it, unless you are like keen and you are locked into like the family guideline, right? You want to have a kid, you want to have a wife, a house, okay? I feel like especially when you're still young, right? Especially when you're still young, I feel like you should not settle. You should not settle, especially when you're still like not even like mid-20s, maybe towards early 30s. You can think about like, okay, you know what? You've tested out now, right? Like as a support, you have tested out this support, which is yourself, with all the different DPS, right? You try out with single target DPS, you try out with AoE DPS, you try out with DOT, you try out with super, you try out with all the DPS in the world, and finally, right, 5 years after the game has launched, as a tier 0, you yourself needs to be a tier 0, and now when that comes into reality, then you can be like, okay, you know what? I know exactly what I'm looking for because I've tested out with all these DPSs. Like for example, Teep, you test out with a lot of different people. At the end of the day, she's gonna be working really, really well with this kind of like HP scaling, air addition, all that kind of stuff. So you know what to look for, right? And before that happens, you don't have to worry about it. There's no point like pussying out or like, oh my god, do I tell her that she likes me or do I tell her that she hates me? But it really doesn't matter, because like whatever happens is like you're just bringing them. You're like literally taking out a girl to a MOC run, right? You are bringing out this DPS. Okay, you try an MOC 10, right? And then if it works, fantastic. But if it doesn't work, there's gonna be another DPS and another DPS and another DPS and another DPS every other day, as long as you yourself as a support works. Now, I'm sure a lot of chatters, right, as gacha players, y'all think y'all are the Teeps. But let's just be a little bit honest. Physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, gacha players are probably not tier 0 supports, right? Gacha players are probably, okay, like with all due fucking respect, right? I would say that, I would say like 60-70% of y'all are probably like, I don't know, tier 1.5s. Y'all are probably like, okay, maybe not R-star, right? Okay, y'all are probably like, that's like a good example. Okay, y'all are like E0 Bronyas, right? You're like E0 Bronyas, right? You have the potential, right? You have the potential to become E1 Bronyas, E2 Bronyas. Fuck, even some of y'all could even grow up to be E6 Bronyas. But I would say majority of y'all are probably E0 Bronyas. Maybe some of y'all are a little bit better here and there, but if you do want to view relationship and love as like a gacha game, right? And the way that you view it from like MrPokke's educational stream, you need to improve your status as a support. So, yep, those were the things that we were talking about. I think it makes for a very, very interesting clip, right? The worst is when our team and you pick main DPS Arlen, and you know what's crazy? It can still work. Like some people just wants to have a DPS Arlen, and there's nothing wrong.
If you are perma self-improving mindset, you get no confidence. You need to know you are enough as well. Gotta settle with yourself. It's otherwise a cycle of tearing yourself down. It's not black and white in my opinion.
I think it is very black and white because you don't really have to lump up self-improvement with a lack of confidence. Like, whether or not you feel you are adequate enough to your own development shouldn't have anything to do with your confidence. Like, you shouldn't feel like, oh shit, I'm not a tier 0 support, therefore I'm depressed. No, it's more like, okay, so what if I'm not a tier 0? Or so what if you are? It's like, your value as a man and your confidence as a man, these two things, it shouldn't be intertwined. Right? Like, your capabilities should just be solely based off of what you are capable of. And then whether or not you get a confidence as you are like you are a skilled individual, right? You're not too skilled of an individual. It still comes from, at the end of the day, self-love, right? That's why some men, even though they are not like the tier 0 supports, but they still have the confidence and like the self-love to go on ahead, which can then be a risk by itself, right? That's literally where risk comes from. Charisma. You don't have to be like, okay, you are the best possible support, but as long as you are happy with it, and eventually you wouldn't let others see you as anything less than what you see for yourself. You get what I'm saying? And they do. Some people tie their island. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Some people tie their island to it. But yo, Bobby Wobby, we're talking about gacha gamers, bro. The last thing gacha gamers know is self-improvement, right? Like, because let's just be 80% of gacha gamers, we're either talking about gacha tribalism, we're talking about tier lists, whether this game is pay to win, predatory gacha. Bro, the last thing on gacha player mind is, oh my god, am I doing fine? Am I being of a value to society, right? Because especially with all due respect to gacha players, that is the reality of the situation. Oh my god, what the fuck did I just press, guys? Holy shit. Okay, I just pressed view source code. But that is pretty much gonna be a quick little Uncle Pokey live lessons, guys. I think this is a very, very nice little clip. See you guys on the clip channel. You have coomed your last coom, my man.